my pleasure to welcome you to the webinar on the most timely and appropriate subject. Be tough and face the pandemic stress boldly. Now I kindly request Rear Admiral P.D. Sharma, Founder President of Rashtriya Life Saving Society and the organizer of this webinar, to give the welcome address. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Vidutma. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to a unique event presented by the Rashtriya Life Saving Society, India. For the past over 2 decades, the RLSSI has been empowering people in life-saving skills to attend to victims of accidents on land and in water, sometimes leading to drowning. These were physical interventions, but the webinar this evening, being put out by the team RLSSI, is different. Concerned with the existing scenario of rising COVID cases, its variant strains, shortage of hospital beds with ventilators, inadequate supply of oxygen and vaccination shots are seen as reasons for despair, loss of hope, and death. Causes of suicide are heard on a daily basis. But look at the other side. There are more recoveries now than ever before. It is here that the webinar this evening, organized under the leadership of Mrs. Kavita Sharma, founder, trustee, and vice president of RLSSI, finds its relevance. It's all about mind over body. Think positive, and events shall roll out positively. There are some eminent speakers who shall share their views with you. The webinar is about persuading ourselves and those that we love and like, and even those unknown to us, to look upon the brighter side of life. Seek, and you shall find some delightful incident that brings a smile on your face. I'm firm in my conviction that positive thoughts are enhanced with domestic support and during interaction with friends and acquaintances. I have followed a simple dictum in life. I share news of details of events, whether good or bad, with as many as I can. Sharing the good doubles the joy, and sharing the not so good halves the sorrow. So, ladies and gentlemen, keep your chin up and face the corona boldly and beat it. Good luck to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your warm welcome and positive words at these difficult times. I now have pleasure to invite our guest speaker this evening, Dr. Mimamsa Singh Tanwar. Dr. Tanwar is a clinical psychologist with the Department of Mental Health, Behavioral Sciences, Fortis Healthcare, Gurgaon. Welcome, Dr. Tanwar.
Thank you, Vidutma. Style, whether it is, children who are at this point in time not being able to lead a life of, normalcy, where they are not being able to go to schools. These are unprecedented times, and we need to be honest to ourselves. We lost our guards. We forgot our responsibility. We became a lot more loosened up in our own collective responsibility, which was to follow our precautions. And yes, that is the result of the fact that what is it that we are facing at this point in time? People are struggling. Hospitals are struggling. And still, we are trying our best to be able to do what we can do in the ongoing time period. But we need to realize what is our collective responsibility at this point in time. There is a term called confirmation bias, and the other is illusion of invulnerability in social psychology. Where we tend to believe that this is not going to happen to me. And I go out there thinking this is an act of heroism, that this is not going to happen to me because I believe my immunity is so high that it's not going to come to me. And this is exactly what happened. We didn't follow the precautions. We began to meet people. We began to not practice physical distance. And this is where we are at this point in time, where we see again somewhere we are finding it difficult to sort of find that hope to be able to deal with the COVID war. We have to understand the fact that this is a war that we all have to, as a community, come together and fight together by supporting each other. And one of the first things that we need to do is follow all the precautions that the government has been telling us to the T. Whether you've got vaccinations, whether you've got anything else, let's not have a confirmation bias because we believe somewhere this is not going to happen to me. Because somebody else says that, this is something, what the government is saying is perhaps has its own, notions to it. Maybe this is not true. Don't believe the belief systems which are being just spread. We need to believe the facts. And this is where our responsibility as self-aware individuals come in. We need to make the choice whether we want to be someone who chooses just a belief which is being spread because somebody else believes something is different than what is there in front of us, or do we want to face the reality of the situation, the reality of the facts that are there in front of us. There is no doubt about the fact that there are stories of recovery that are happening, and which is what gives us hope. We won the last battle, but we've lost the other just because somewhere we became a lot more loose in our own minds and we began to have a lot more confirmation bias. Somebody said something, this may happen, this may not happen. And because somewhere we wanted to believe that it's not there anymore and that it's gone, that belief system we continued to keep solidifying in our own minds. And we decided to sort of part ways with the precautions that we had to follow and came more and more closer to people because we wanted to do this. When we talk about fatigue and when we talk about monotony in the ongoing time period and we talk about feelings of hopelessness and helplessness, we need to ask ourselves, there's a simple thing that we've been asked to do. Just stay within our homes. Lead a normal life within our homes. Look at simple joys of life. And this is where I draw my inspiration. I draw my inspiration from healthcare workers who are certainly working in the front line to, fight the war. But then again, let's also look at the young children around us. When I see my 8-year-old daughter, and there was this recent assignment and question that was given to her that, what is it that you learned in the last 1 year? And what was something that you're feeling gratitude about? What was changed? What was challenging about the last year? And I saw this note that she had written, and I didn't know that this was an assignment that was done in school. And I just saw it lying there. And she had written, when the schools were shut, I could not play with my friends. But then I realized, and then there was this another note. And when I was at home, I had more virtual calls with my grandparents. I had more virtual calls and I did more art and craft with my friends through video chats. And this is what she wrote over there. So there was this one thing that I saw that I could not do. And then there's this other thing that I saw that I could do. And children give us this sense of resilience. They are certainly a lot more resilient than us. I mean, the fact that, they're enjoying their schools, getting up right from the bed and just, sitting in front of the screen and just enjoying their school. And then, just telling parents, give me this, give me that in between breaks. Simple joys of living that they are able to bring into our lives is what needs to inspire us. That how something that we lost over a period of time, because we get so much rattled in our day-to-day race, our performance appraisals, our performance pressures, the competitiveness in the environment around us, and the proliferation of media, that we have to understand how media influences us. That we want to conform to what is happening around us. We want to conform to the information which is going and floating around us. We don't check the facts. We don't check the sources. We don't check the credibility of the information that floats around us. We just conform to it. We pick up an information that we believe, yes, it suits my belief system. I'm just going to conform to it. All of these things impact our mental health. It impacts our choices. It impacts our lifestyle. So what a lot of us began to talk about in the last 1 year, which was, I'm enjoying listening to birds. I'm enjoying, and you would see the change in the selfies. The selfies that would happen earlier with friends, even despite you would be sitting in a restaurant and you're having selfies of capturing those moments, the pictures changed. Pictures came of birds, pictures came of trees. They were always there. We didn't see them because we were so always consumed by the world around us, which is rushing in and out. And this is the time where we need to direct our attention and our joys to things around us. That's where we bring in the sense of mindfulness in our day-to-day life. That's how we practice this. When we are able to enjoy the essence of what we are doing in our day-to-day lives, because we somewhere are not able to enjoy that. We are so stretched with multiple roles and responsibilities that we have. And then we have this meeting, and then I'm rushing because my daughter has school, and then she's crying that she wants to play, and then I'm telling her, no, please, we can't do this because you have school right now and I have a meeting right now. And I'm sure this is part and story of everyone's life. All of you are dealing and living with this moment, and this is where we forget to really enjoy simple things in our day-to-day life. And this is where life has slowed down, and we need to relearn a lot of these things that we lost in the last few years. In the last 1 decade, so much time and so many things had changed. With the technology coming into our lives, the digital interface coming into our lives, things speeded up a lot faster that we did not even realize what we were doing to our lives. I firmly believe at this point in time, digital medium is a boon to us. Because if this was something that would have happened few years down the line when this was not there, I don't know how we would have survived this. It's because of technology that we are still able to, and that's what the positive of this time is. That despite sitting within our homes, we are able to still do all of these things. I've brought about such a huge difference to my lifestyle, where early in the morning, first I would get up and I would rush in because I had to get up and get my daughter ready to school, and then rush in for the OPD, and then from there in between just go pick her up and then drop her to the daycare, and then come back and then do cooking, and then the other work which is pending, and then sleeping at 11-12 at night, almost dead. And now I feel that there is so much positive change in my life that has happened. I wake up in the morning. The first thing that I do is I put on my tanpura, which I had actually forgotten to hear in the last 17 years. I now go for walks in the morning at around 6 a.m. because I'm no more in a rush to actually get my daughter ready to school. I come back, I put some rose petals, I do a little bit of meditation for 15 minutes, putting some mindfulness music, and then I wake up my daughter who's up, ready to school. We have a breakfast together, and then I start my OPD at around 8 a.m., 9 a.m., depending upon what time I have to start. And she starts her school. In between, we have a time where we come together, we chit chat for a brief time, and then we go back in our rooms, and then we go, and then in the afternoon again, we have a break for 2 hours. I think life has become a lot more sorted in some ways or the other. Only if we are able to see that. We talk about fatigue of staying within our homes. How much of a difference it's going to make to our lives if we are not going to malls. If we are not just experiencing some of these other big buildings and just going from one AC room to the other AC room just because it's grand and it's going to just give you a little bit of window shopping and then you're going to spend a lot more money. I think I'm just saving a lot more by not going to malls right now. And I do believe that, if I have to really connect with my friends, I don't really need to go into their houses and then just party over there. I can also do it over here. In fact, I have a lot more time to right now really connect with my friends far distant in the world, because I feel concerned. I am concerned about the fact that, yes, they are doing okay. So I do make that effort to at least give them a call, every alternate days to find out they're doing okay, which we would not do otherwise because we knew we are just leading our normal lives. We would just assume that, everybody is okay, everybody is busy in their lives. What's the point of connecting? I will call maybe 2 months, once in 2 months, once in 6 months. The last time I spoke to someone was this long. And the last time I said hello to my neighbor, I don't even remember. And this is the time where we are actually able to do all of these things. So what we need to really bring in is compassion, empathy, realization that our lives can be a lot more simpler and it can still be so much joyful. We can still live our lives with simple joys that we can have, whether I'm cooking my food and I don't have to rush to office. I can really just spend that time, 10 minutes, really enjoy cooking my food. I can spend that extra 2 minutes enjoying my cup of coffee. I can spend that 5 minutes listening to that, instrumental music. I can do something else. And this is what mindfulness is. We need to learn to live in the present moment, not keep on thinking about what's going to happen next. This is how you deal with uncertainty in life. You accept this is what it is. You adapt with a sense of flexibility. You see and weigh the pros and cons of what you're losing and what you're gaining. Is the loss so much more? Or there is more gain with the change and the adaptability that I'm being pushed by the life at this point in time because of this external circumstance which is happening. And that's the positive and the optimism of this ongoing time period that we all need to instill within ourselves. And that's how we're going to feel resilient. Resilience is not just about our individual selves, but it's also about the collective. How can we come together as communities, as families? How can we support each other? How can we be stronger as support systems towards each other by being empathetic, by being compassionate? And I've always strongly believed, all of these values that we keep on talking about, communities is about values. And if there are stories that we want to leave for our children or for generations to come, is the stories of these values that we could actually live in the ongoing time period, where each one of us realized our responsibility and the fact that we won the war with simple acts of heroism, not something that you can actually go out there and always have to do and show it in big ways and grand ways, but in simple, small ways that we could do. And we just came together as a collective conscious to just, win this war that was globally impacted and affected each one of us. And this is what stories of resilience we need to create for our generations to come together. Ideals are something which I believe are for self to follow and not for others to preach. So if we follow our ideals, this is what children are going to learn from us. We don't need to preach it to them. These are times where these are the stories when generations to come we'll be able to share with them. And that's what we need to just keep on thinking in our mind. That, when this time gets over, what story is it that I want to tell my child? What happened at that point in time? What did you and I do? How did we deal with it? What did the frontline workers do? What did the communities do? How did we parents? How did we as grandparents? How did we as, elderly, as middle-agers, as youth, we could support each other and deal with the ongoing time period. So I think that's where I'm going to just end my discussion. Thank you.
No doubt that each and everyone present here will appreciate the importance of enhancing the mental health just by adjusting our mental outlook towards this pandemic situation, as highlighted by you, Dr. Tanwar. Thank you so much, Dr. Tanwar, by your valuable inputs and practical guidelines to focus on our mental health. If anyone has a question for Dr. Tanwar?
I think Anis Katre has a question for you. Anis, will you carry on? Please voice your question.
Yes, so thank you, Doctor. I think that was very well put, and I completely agree with you that, we need to look at the positive. There's a lot of positive in our life today. On this other hand, because I work with a lot of students, I was wondering about the uncertainty of the future. All the board exam classes have been cancelled, and that's causing a lot of anxiety. Yes. How can we support them?
Validate the emotions. We need to validate the uncertainty of the ongoing time period. Yes, they may be losing a year, and yes, you will be okay, is what we need to keep on reminding them. We need to just give them our support at this point in time. That this 1 year lost is not going to impact your life in a longitudinal axis. What you have to realize that at this point in time, what you are going through, what I'm going through is just the same. I think this is an uncertain time period for me. This is an uncertain time period for you. Yes, there are losses that I'm going through. There is perhaps a year of academic loss that you may be going through. And it's absolutely okay for what you're feeling, for you to feel this way, because I'm also going through something same. And we are all going to be okay with this. That's what we need to keep reminding our children.
Right. Thank you so much.
Dr. Mimmansa, my question is, how does one deal with the fear of catching infection which everybody is having today?
Acknowledge the fact that we all have this fear. Acknowledge the fact that yes, there is a slight rise in our anxiety that we can actually catch this fear, and accept the fact that the only way to deal with this fear is just to follow the precautions. There is no other way to sort of be able to deal with this fear. I mean, with the fear, what we also need to remind ourselves is the hope. The hope that yes, people are recovering even if they are catching, and the hope that yes, I may not get it if I keep on following my physical distancing, hand sanitizing, wearing the mask appropriately, going as minimum as possible outside, then there is a hope that I may not catch it. And yes, the fact that even if I do, I would be able to recover. So we need to, focus and accept the fear and yet focus on the hope.
I now invite Ms. Gauri Chingote, CEO, Juvenate Wellbeing Private Limited, Pune.
Thank you and namaste to everyone. Um, Sir and ma'am, thank you very much for inviting me here and making me a part of RLSS again. I am a lifesaver uh, and a part of RLSS as a volunteer on a regular basis. But like Vidotma introduced me, thank you, Vidotma. I am a registered dietitian and the CEO of Juvenate Wellbeing Private Limited. What we basically do is nutrition based education for children, teachers, parents, and the community at large. So that's a little bit about us. But coming to what Dr. Tanwar said, and she put it so eloquently about how it is important to think about it positively, how things that have changed in our life over the last 1 or more year have actually in certain ways impacted us positively. We get more time to spend with our family, we get more time to take interest in the skills or learning that we left a long time ago, or something that we are more inclined to do over the course of time. I think this is one of the basic times that we, especially as nutritionists, have found that food has also affected a lot of the mood, the ability to do things, and the bonding that we found in the houses since we all in, uh, forced to be indoors most of the time. And again, like Dr. Tanva said, one of the biggest priorities that we have as citizens is going out into the world and making sure when we do, we follow all protocols. Everything that government has mandated, we do follow it, like washing our hands. So little things like, washing your hands, it's not just round and round, it's also in and out. So these are the little things that we teach children as well as parents to inculcate this as a habit in the house. So as we go out and when the pandemic lifts, we are ready to face the world in a more positive and a cleaner way, if you will. Some of the things that we have noticed, especially in my group, as we do education and we do research in the education based on nutrition that, for children and the public in general, is there are specific foods that really have been touted to be immunity boosters, and there's a lot of news on, you must have giloy, you must have this, you must have that, that allow you to have a better immunity. However, with the pandemic and its course and its changes, its genetic changes, we've noticed that it's not just about one food. It is about a general balance that we have been advocating and we still advocate. It's not just about having a lot of, say, garlic, because garlic has phytonutrients that are really good for, boosting your immunity. But that only happens over a period of time. With the advent of news and the information that we get, a lot of people assume that immunity boosting foods work overnight. They don't. It needs to take its course. So foods like fruits, vegetables, which are available in your local area and which are available in season, are the ones that you're really looking, that we would really push you to go out and get. Fruits. It's summer season, it's mango season, it's watermelon season. Those are the right foods. Even if you're sitting inside and you're not necessarily feeling the heat, but those are the right foods for this season, because they provide you the maximum amount of nutrients that you require at this point. Now, when we talk to children and parents, a lot of them say, "Oh, we haven't had junk food in ages because of this pandemic. And that's one of the biggest positives that we've actually found. A lot more people are cooking at home, and they're involving their children to cook so that it becomes a family affair. It's a bonding technique that families have realized that it's making everybody learn a specific skill that helps over a lifetime. It keeps you healthy, and it allows you to find your balance in terms of how much you're going to eat, what you're going to eat, and how to eat together. Like Dr. Tanwa says, she gets time with her daughter every morning to have breakfast. I think that's one of the biggest positives that we found is we get to have meal time with our families. And that's been great, especially with children being at home and having online classes. It's been great to have children being able to be there at the dining table to have breakfast with you, to have lunch with you, and maybe help out in making dinner. So that becomes a additional skill. So having said that, cooking is just one part of what I feel that is a added skill that we encourage. However, there's so many things. What if you have elderly people in the house and they're not inclined to cook, or and you have very young children and they're not inclined to cook? How do we involve everybody to ensure that there is an involvement in terms of making sure there's a skill added, also that you're keeping the positivity and the inclusiveness for having when doing an activity, and doing something that is healthy for you, that will give you a healthier outcome. So one of the biggest things that we advocate is a kitchen garden. Kitchen gardens are very simple to do, and they can be done literally anywhere, whether it's a small balcony, your kitchen windowsill, or a big lawn. So these are really very simple things to do. And today I'm just going to give a quick demonstration of the things you can plant and how you can plant them. So I have a few things, and these are things that we encourage children to do along with their parents and preferably grandparents if they're at home, um, because it allows them to learn how to grow something, on their own, give life to something new. So this is something that we really encourage. So I have a few bottles of soil here. Now these are simple plastic bottles that you find at home a lot of the times, or you find in the in the dumpster. In the pandemic, that's another thing that we've actually found, that the consumption of plastic has also deteriorated, that which is great. And those of you who have plastic bottles lying around, you can actually make use of them in the house for simple things like planting. So here I have a few bottles filled with soil. So a few things that allow us to boost our immunity. So I'm just going to pull down I don't know if you can see it. So I have a few little things that help in encouraging children, the family to bond together and plant a garden. And you see results from starting from a few very short few days to a few weeks, and you can have a garden that can actually give you something in return, which is usable. Things like potatoes. This is a tiny potato, one of those little dum aloo wale aloo. When we're planting potatoes, simple thing, we're looking at little nodes in the potatoes. I don't know if you can see them, the little nodes on the potato. And really, all you have to do is make sure your soil is ready for planting. This is general soil that you get everywhere. You don't have to go out of your way to get fertilizer soil or things like that. That would be great, but if you don't, this is one of the easiest ways. So putting the potato into the soil, having the child put potato in the soil and cover it again with a little bit of extra soil, and using tap water. So tap water is essential. We cannot have we usually don't suggest things like aquaguard water or filtered water, because the minerals in tap water are the things that the plant require to grow. So You just have to wet it and leave it. So we have a lot more things that we can do like this, and these can be hung up or kept in diffuse sunlight, meaning where there's sunlight coming in during the early morning hours and allow the plant to grow, whereas the harsh sunlight of the summer sun is not hit on them, and that allows the crops to grow much faster. So things like potatoes take about 2 to 3 months to grow, but the shoots come out about 2 or 3 weeks later. So that's something children feel very involved about, seeing something that they've started off and see the fruits of their labor, if you will. We have few other things like carrots. Carrots can be planted just the top of the carrot where you get the roots coming out, and uh, that can be planted into the soil, and just like that, over a period of time with regular watering and sunshine, the carrot will grow and it proliferates, and you can get a crop of carrots. Same thing with onions, garlic. Garlic and onions have a lot of phytonutrients that are really essential in the immunity boosting technique. So this is something that we really advocate. Even the leaves. So when you have spring onions or chives. Another thing is ginger. This is a little piece of ginger. Ginger is a root in and of itself. So essentially, you can take just a small part of the root and plant it. The same thing happens with turmeric. This is the season where you get turmeric root, fresh turmeric root, and fresh turmeric root in the can be planted in exactly the same way and has a really good antiseptic and immunity boosting. But again, I'm going to reiterate, one of the biggest things that we notice is immunity boosters don't work overnight. So if anybody says you must have vitamin C is important for you, so have a lot of lemon juice. Drinking lemon juice over a period of 24 hours is not going to get you the immunity boosting requirement that your body requires. It has to be done over a period of time. So we really encourage people to have a balance of everything in their diets, in their nutritional plan. So things such as fruits, vegetables. You have your proteins such as dals, non-vegetarian dishes, uh, paneer, tofu, soy. These are all protein-based foods which allow the absorption of nutrients, again, to help in boosting your immunity. Um, all said and done, this is all something that we can do in the house and as individuals or as a family. But when it comes to the community, this is something that we can also take to the community, especially in now that schools are virtual. This can also be done as a part of the virtual education system, where we teach children how to plant their own food or plant their own garden, or get their families involved in this. But it all comes down to safety, because I know we're a safety forum here right now, and it all finally comes down to the safety of it. We are easily able to control the safety of what we eat in the house. We're washing our fruits and vegetables. We're making sure we're eating cooked foods, because that's as of right now, those are things that are advocated. Eating cooked foods rather than having too many raw foods. Having vegetables and fruits that are local and seasonal. That is important because they maximize the nutrients that you require. However, what happens when we go outside and we need to eat outside? That's something that at this point of time, especially in the time frame that we're in, we usually advocate that carrying a small snack, like maybe a few dry fruits or nuts from home, carrying a fresh fruit from home is a better option than eating too many things outside. So that is, I think I'm going to stop there. I don't want to take too much of anybody's time. So these are the few things, and I request everybody to at least think about starting a home garden with your family if you haven't already. Thank you so much.
So much, Ms. Gauri, for telling us how food affects our mood. and those simple steps to grow immunity booster garden at home. Now I have pleasure to invite the Vice President of Russian Life-Saving Society, Mrs. Kavita Sharma.
Good evening, dear friends. I think we've had two very important and different areas of discussion with our two guests, and they have covered a lot of areas which have been creating concerns for us. I would like to welcome you all again for taking the time and trouble to come and join us this evening. As you know, RLSS is into safety of self and safety of people around us. And this is what we need to promote all the time and every time. Unfortunately, in our daily living, while we are rushing about trying to achieve, this takes a back seat. And often we do not even realize that we are going into danger. Yes, we all need to go into danger. We cannot wrap ourselves with cotton wool. But at the same time, we must prepare ourselves when we go into danger. The need for safety in our homes. Everybody feels that my home, I know, I am trying to keep my home safe. But there are a lot of little things which you know, but they are not top of mind. And that is what I'm going to try and bring about. Safety is everybody's business, whether it be at home or on our roads or at the workplace, near water, like the rivers, lakes, or the sea. But I cannot cover each and every one of these areas and shall concentrate today on safety at home because the coronavirus has locked us all at home. And I will dwell on the need to keep our homes and our families safe. I know we are all trying to protect ourselves from the coronavirus to the best of our abilities. But are we conscious of other dangers and safety issues that are lurking around in our homes? In case of an accident or a sudden emergency illness, do we know how to help? At these times, it is difficult to get an ambulance or a doctor, and even the hospitals have no beds available. Don't wait for an accident to become safety conscious. We have babies, we have children, we have teenagers, adult family members, as well as the elderly who need to be kept safe. Do we know what to do? A woman, right from the time that she starts expecting a baby, is caring for that child. And she is doing that throughout her life. So traditionally, women are seen to be caregivers and bear the responsibility of safety at home, whether it be of the children or the elderly. But most importantly, they often neglect their own safety. For example, as you all know, the kitchen is the most dangerous place in our house. We have fire, we have water, we have gas, electrical appliances, and sharp implements which can be within the reach of toddlers. Do we take adequate precaution that they do not hurt themselves? We ourselves are often at risk when we try to multitask in the kitchen while trying to prepare a full meal in a short time. Last year, a mother in Pune went to the bathroom to wash clothes in her washing machine. As she switched on the water to fill, she suddenly realized that she was out of washing powder. She picked up her purse and ran down to the Kirana shop below her building to buy a packet. Meanwhile, her two little kids, twins aged 4 years, heard the water running. And as you know, kids are attracted to water. They went into the bathroom. Unable to reach the top of the machine to look inside, they pulled the stool and climbed on to take a peek. One leant up too far, slipped and fell inside. The other tried to reach out for his brother, but also toppled over. By the time the mother came back, it was too late. Both had drowned. Can we learn a lesson from this? Small children need to be supervised at all times. What would you do if a baby stopped breathing? Do you know how to save a baby's life? Do you know that choking is the fourth highest cause of accidental deaths in children? Little babies, after they have had their feed, then they are put to bed, so often choke on the milk. Meanwhile, the mother has put the baby to sleep, gone to the kitchen to prepare the meal, and by the time she comes back, she finds the baby is blue. And often there is a very, very serious accident. So one must know how to look after the baby and how to actually feed the baby and birth the baby so that the milk does not choke the child. This is a WHO report which was a survey that they had done. Unintentional injuries are the third leading cause of death among children under the age of 5. In 2004, unintentional injuries led to 82,000 deaths among children. Therefore, there is a need for continued monitoring of the injury burden and investigation of risk factors for effective injury prevention programs. Who are at stake? It's children between 0 and 10 years. Not that the older ones don't get into problems. Yes, they do get hurt, but the very young are very delicate and get into serious difficulties. And I believe that every child's death is due to a monumental failure of an adult. We therefore have to understand the 4 A's of safety, which is awareness, assessment, and then take action, do what we can, and always remember to immediately ask for help. And at the end of it, of course, we have to give aftercare, to stay with the baby or the child and keep observing the other symptoms so that the condition of the child does not deteriorate. I have spoken a lot about children, but we also have the elderly in our homes. Many of us have older members of the family living with us. Here again, do we know how to protect and keep them safe? The dangers that exist for a child are quite similar for the elderly. Many hazards need to be addressed, such as staircases, bathrooms, kitchens, passageways must be kept clear, staircases must have handrails, as also the bathrooms, which also must have non-skid flooring or mats. Another concern that we have, especially for the elderly, though in this day and age, younger people are also having heart attacks. It is one of the scariest episodes that can happen at home, especially for an elderly to have a heart attack. Are you prepared for such a situation? One needs to recognize the symptoms and then take action. The major symptoms are severe pain in the chest spreading to the left arm or neck, difficulty in breathing, profuse sweating, irregular heartbeat. There are a whole lot of others, but they could be common to other conditions as well. Immediately, first action is to reassure and calm the patient. If the patient knows there's somebody who is there to look after him, his body will automatically start fighting. Place him, her in a half-sitting position with the knees bent. Loosen clothing, particularly around neck, chest and waist. Keep the person warm. Wipe face and forehead with a damp cloth. Monitor for further symptoms. If he or she is on medication, then assist the victim to take it. Do not give anything to eat or drink or throw water on the face. In case there is no breathing, you have to start CPR. And finally, in conclusion, I would like to say that knowledge of first aid should be mandatory for all. I shall end my talk now and hand over to Praful, who will take you through online training programs and show you how it is so easy to be first aid savvy.
Yeah, thank you very much, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. My name is Praful Pandey, and I organize the events and life-saving trainings for RLSSI. My presentation will look as a marketing gimmick, but we can't ignore the importance of having a life-saving skills. As we have heard the experts that we can face the challenges arise with this pandemic situation boldly. Having knowledge of life-saving skills it can help to reduce the strain. A lifesaver is trained in recognizing and treating a whole host of injuries and illness that may occur at home as well as in the workplace. Many situations requires first aid are relatively minor, and a first aider and lifesaver can often help without the need of call an ambulance or send them to an overstretched and accident and emergency departments in hospitals. The RLSSI certificates are recognized globally. How we conduct the online session? Of course, there will be online registration. We are offering the land safety currently, like CPR, safety, home safety, child safety, and first aid. The training program will include the RLSSI study material, live session with experienced RLSSI instructor, videos, PPTs, through live demonstration, a skill check, practical, and after the MCQ, and successfully completion of the training will awarded the certificate. We have planned to announce our next batches from 21st April, which will be through online. Thank you.
One more question for Dr. Memans to say. When you see a person who's got physical immobility, we have some sort of a system to deal with him almost immediately, make him good. But when it comes to mental, we are at a loss as to kya kare uske saath. So, have you got some sort of protocol to deal with, mental stress? There are 12 cases where the causes of death, apart from the usual accidents and so forth. One of the biggest is stress, and stress is undefinable. It could be for a minor issue to major issues. It could be on account of something that you want and you can't get. Whatever it be, the fact is that a person is stressed, and ultimately the stressed person sometimes is so bad that he goes and commits suicide. Now, that's bad. Is there some sort of a protocol to deal with it?
Absolutely. There is psychological first aid, in fact. And if you actually see WHO guidelines on the do's and the don'ts of psychological first aid, especially in cases of trauma, you would see that there are a lot of things that you need to take care of. One is how do you react and respond to a situation where you see that the person is gone through something, whether it's abuse, whether it's a crisis, whether it's a disaster, whether it's a loss, an accident. How you have to first maintain your own emotions, your own calm, to be able to respond to that individual. Ask the right questions, not very interrogative, but at the scene, what is it that the help that they would need? Again, looking at things that you can say, you should not be saying, asking some of these questions. So all these guidelines are there for psychological first aid for sure. The people that you need to reach out to at that point in time, also a follow-up that needs to be taken. If it's for anyone for that matter, even a follow-up, you provide the healthcare and healthcare provider numbers. You all do all of these things. So that is a part of psychological first aid, which is certainly very much there. So helpline numbers, yes, they are very important, although we get calls internationally as well, but it's a national helpline. And there are a lot more other helplines also that are available. So it's just letting people know that there is help available, because when it comes to mental health, help seeking is not a natural response. In mental health, since there is so much that we think, it's about me, it's about the individual, it's about how I need to think positive. When help really needs to be taken, we don't reach out for help. And which is why we see cases of death by suicide. And 90% of deaths by suicides actually happen because of mental illnesses. So suicides are absolutely preventable. specifically if we are and we need to have more and more conversations on mental health. We need to normalize help seeking, that yes, when you are feeling low, when you're feeling anxious, when you're going through a difficult time period for a very long time, it's okay to ask for help, whether it's a family member or a mental health care provider, but you must reach out for help.
Involved session throughout, and I must thank all the participants and people who have given their time to give us a talk on these subjects. Some specialists full of knowledge, full of dedication to the cause of well-being of a fellow human being.